really happy to be here to discuss this topic. I'm Hanna Niemi-Hugaerts. I'm working as a development manager in a development agency owned by the city of Helsinki. So I work very closely with cities, both locally in Helsinki in Finland and then also nationally and in the EU level and hopefully more and more also internationally. And my focus in Virium Helsinki is to boost the use of open data in various ways, and I will be a bit discussing that topic. And I think because the title kind of gives a bit this sound that the private interest on this public data is something bad, I think my point of view and our point of view from the city side is that we really need that private interest for us to make it meaningful to open up more and more data. And I will be today discussing it from 3 different points of view. First of all, a bit discuss the challenges that we've had with getting that private interest on that public data, and then a bit on the actions that we are taking to increase the interest on it and the use of open data in Helsinki and in Finland in general, and then a bit discuss the future and the direction we hope that this open data, public data is taking us and the digital city services in the future. So first, to the challenges side. I think in Helsinki, as in many other places, there's different kind of benefits seen from open data. And of course, the kind of laying values and principles are decreasing transparency and bringing efficiency to the public sector, because the data that used to be in silos before is now widely used, not just by other people outside the city organization, but also different departments in the city side as well. But then there's that third aspect, this business and innovation. And we've seen some of it, but I think if you look at the numbers and the euros and dollars that have been promised to us or kind of forecasted as a benefit from open data, we haven't seen too much of that yet. And if you look at the work that we've done, we've already had an open data catalog in the Helsinki region InfoShare, ever since 2011. And in 2012, we launched developer engagement activities in the city of Helsinki called Helsinki Loves Developers. And I think since then, we've kind of been following very similar trajectories as the other cities around the world with open data. So there's been a lot of transit-related apps. We have plenty of those in Helsinki. And also interesting ideas on things like open decision-making data or aerial photos. Even there's some art made from open data, like the 3D printed jewelry piece, for example. So we have very interesting takes on the data, and if you are interested in seeing what kind of things people in Helsinki have been coming up with, you can go and check the hri.fi and applications to see an overview. But in general, I think quite big part of these cases are situations where there's this one-man team or one-woman team building an app that kind of either showcases their skills or solves their own everyday, real day-to-day problem. And of course, it's nice. We, for example, had one developer who likes to bicycle in the winter, and he's had the challenge of finding the routes where the snow plows have already kind of cleared the snow for him. So it's a lot more easier for him, of course, to take that kind of routes when he's bicycling to work, for example. So his personal need or challenge that he was facing on a daily basis, together with the open API to the locations of the snowplows that the city of Helsinki has launched, resulted in a very nice service called Snowplows on the Map, which solves his problem. So now he can very easily see where the snowplows have gone, and he can take a route that was cleared from snow and therefore easy for him to bicycle. But what happened then is that the media caught, or the media gave some attention and media time to this service, which resulted in a lot of traffic to his nice service, which resulted in a lot of people giving him improvement ideas that, hey, it's kind of nice service, but could you add this, or maybe the colors could be different, or hey, there's a bug, it doesn't work like this and that. And this was not a positive thing for him, because it meant that he had these bug reports. People were requesting support for his service that was actually designed to serve his own purposes. And his response to a lot of these comments was this: it's in GitHub, just take it up and start improving it if you want. Which is, of course, nice. I mean, it's better than that he's closing it from others. It's a start for a kind of collaborative innovation, of course, if you want to see it like that. But for the city, who on the other hand, had a nice service for its citizens, but yet nobody to kind of maintain it and develop it further, it can be seen as a challenge. And I think this kind of illustrates, in general, one of these key concerns that we have, is that many civic hackers or people who are interested in developing these apps, they have usually a day job also as a developer. So for them to take up another day of work in the evening to kind of fill up the needs and suggestions that come from their users, it's not something that they are really eager to take up on. And this, of course, can lead, not always leads, but can lead to many disappointed users and therefore citizens. And what we also think that it often can be a possible business opportunity lost, because that developer doesn't necessarily have such either the business skills or the interest to take it into a product that has actually some viable business model behind it. And I think, well, I think this is very similar situation in many other cities as well. So there's a lot of ideas for apps and services, but then to have a viable model to keep it running and develop it further, it's not necessarily there. And it's, of course, not something just related to the open data scene. It's in general, if you look at the app developers and the business models used in the app development scene, a lot of developers are still using these models that don't necessarily bring so much revenue, and they're a bit slow on taking up on the models that would bring them more revenue, like the contract work or subscription-based solutions, or even using their services and applications as a channel for maybe selling things and so forth. And another thing is that it's often still thought as open data is only a fuel for applications and services, which is not, of course, the case. You can use it for multiple other purposes as well. And I think these are recognized by the OECD, and I think all of us know already. Research, consultancies, work, and so forth are all very good ways to use the open data that we are producing. And I think we need more and more services, and not just digital services, but also human-side training and consultancy work all throughout the whole production chain of the data, not just after the data is being opened. But we also need, I mean, the cities are not necessarily the best to know what's the most effective way to collect data on the situation on the traffic jams and so on. So maybe we need video analysis, new kinds of sensors, new kind of crowdsourcing platforms. We need new kinds of innovative solutions already before we are even opening up the data. So we really like to invite the businesses to come and solve these issues with us. And of course the research world as well, not to I have to mention that side as well. So it's not just after data is opened when these private interests should be received. And then, of course, one can ask that, well, what role is the city side? What do we, as data owners, data collectors, what role do we play in all this? Some might say that not much, we just take care of opening up the data, but in Finland we've seen the cities take a bit more active role in that. So we really are doing a lot of work to get the data seem as attractive for the private side as possible. And one of these aspects of this is that when cities are becoming this platform, enabling things with open data and APIs, there's also different kind of needs when we get the businesses involved. And we've had this 6-city strategy where the 6 largest Finnish cities are collaborating together on this issue. And there's 3 different domains, but we are putting a lot of focus on the open data and interfaces side. But of course the open data touches also the open innovation and open participation side. So we are going to do a lot of collaboration on these domains. But to tell a bit more on the open data and interfaces side, we are doing a lot of different kind of actions to boost the use of open data, and especially creating business out of it. So we try to put, as a business as usual, we're anyway opening up as much data as we can, but now through this new funding instrument, we can open up especially those data sources and APIs that have most business potential or businesses are most interested in. But also we can put more effort on ensuring that it's easily accessible and shared licenses are used, so businesses don't have to every time wonder which standard, or which license is used for which data set. We're also trying to create a single market by using standards. So we have done a city SDK project where 8 cities collaborate together to open up data through standardized APIs. And now we have open and agile smart cities network with more than 30 cities doing the same, together with the 6 cities that are working on this in Finland. And when we want this private interest on the data, it means that we have to kind of level it up to this business-to-business level requirements. So our APIs have to be up and running. They have to have some kind of service level agreements. There needs to be this load balancing. There needs to be a channel for businesses to find out if we are doing some maintenance work. They can't, if you have a crucial service running on open APIs of the city, you cannot wait for the next day when some civil servant comes to work and then fixes the issue. There has to be a 24/7 maintenance on these and monitoring on these APIs. And we have to communicate that these APIs are still something that we are continuously developing and building upon. Sorry, I thought I had 15 minutes. I thought I had 15. Okay. I haven't now used 11. Sorry. I'm just like, do I start rushing? And also a lot of it is about building capacity in the city side. So we have training for the procurement know-how and open source, use of open source in the city side. And also different kind of events. So the city is not just inviting the businesses to their events, but we are really trying to go to where the developers and businesses are. And in general, to have a closer relationship with the third-party developer community. And one action we've done is that we invited, this is in Finnish, but we invited an open data business panel so that we could have a channel where we can have this kind of discussions with the businesses on the use of open data so that we could make Finland to become one of the forerunners of data-driven business in general. And we got 100 companies who joined, and it's still open for new participants to come. And we did one poll with the businesses, and one of the things is that, well, of course, since they joined the panel, they believe in open data and the business prospects it can provide them. But one thing in one of our panel questions was that a lot of companies still like to see themselves in many different roles, so not just using the data to build new applications, but also to aggregate and enable and collect data. And what we really discovered is that businesses need the city to show like different kind of success stories and cases from abroad on the use of open data, because it's not just enough to make it available, but we have to really kind of hold their hand to help them to find new ways to use the data in their businesses. I will go a bit faster. And then if I look ahead from the city of Helsinki's perspective, it's not just about opening data that cities need to think about, and as I mentioned, there's many different aspects to it. And in general, if we engage these third parties to provide or produce different kind of new city services, it can mean all kinds of things. And I think in the long run, if you look at the urbanization, we are providing as cities quite big market for companies and their new kind of innovative services that they can provide to us, both as city organizations, but also if you look at the inhabitants, the population that are living in cities. And in general, if you look at the city service side, it's quite big market. Like you had the Axel, I was just receiving quite big funding or investment recently here. And when citizens are becoming more and more used to using their mobile services and devices, they have more demands to the city to provide better services, of course. But then if you look at the city of Helsinki, we have done this list of IT systems. We have more than 800 systems that we are using in the city. And it's opened as open data, and you can see the content and purpose of all these systems. I think what we are asking is that which systems are the bedrock? Like what are the core things for the city to keep owning and enabling new business upon? And which of those 800 systems could maybe be either accompanied by or replaced by a third-party solution? And if you look at, for example, the case of Helsinki Regional Transport Authority, they've had their browser-based transit service, transit planning service already for years, which is one of the most valued online brands in Finland already many years. And they've had their open API open since 2008, and which has led to a lot of third-parties creating new transit apps, like I mentioned in the beginning. But if you go to their website and go to look for mobile apps, they only list those third-party services, so they don't have any mobile apps themselves. And I think that means that when you look at people traveling in Finland with public transport or transit in general, a big part of their experience of using this public service is actually shaped by how well those third-party services are functioning. So I think we will be looking at this situation that will we somehow change the way we feel about public digital services in the future, especially those services that are based on open data. And I don't think that will we, but how will we be thinking of it differently? And if you look at one of the recent articles in Finnish newspapers, there was a headline that we are becoming an app capital in Helsinki. But if you look at the applications that are listed, only one of them, this Kutsu Plus, is actually public service related. So these commercial apps are really changing the way we feel about our city and how we experience the city. And that's why we believe that we are reshaping the way city experiences are, or cities are experienced with open data, but we need those businesses to join us to make these cities better places for their citizens. So that was my third different point of view of the future and how we think that this is developing this ecosystem around open data and the private interest related to it. Thank you.